If you would like to support me, I have a Redbubble link down in the description and bio. Also, I have social media pages on Instagram, Twitter, DeviantArt, Kara, and much more. Thanks for watching. In the modern day, people have come to associate samurai with positive attributes. You might see them being presented as extremely moral, kind-hearted, and stoic. But this was not the actual case in reality. Many samurai were violent, cold-blooded killers. Many anime and movies don't really showcase that grisly side of feudal Japan, but there is one such anime that's gutsy enough to do so, and it goes by the name of Shigurui Death Frenzy. The story revolves around two samurai known as Genosuke Fujiki and Seigen Iriko, and their involvement with a dojo called the Kogan. The Kogan are basically a bunch of insane and morally corrupt samurai. The story might sound simple on paper, but I assure you this is one harrowing experience. Literally within the first couple of minutes, we have a guy ripping his own intestines out, making it more hardcore than most anime. The violence in the show is very detailed. Even as someone who's watched a lot of gory stuff, I was taken back by the level of depraved violence. The action scenes in this show are on another level. They aren't like in other anime where people punch each other 500 times and they end up getting up. The action in this show is slow and tense. It takes time to build up suspense and then it lets itself go, and when it does, it lets itself go. The violence, for the most part, has a pretty realistic feeling, and it makes it all the more horrifying. I think a lot of this is due to the presentation of the anime as well. This anime was directed by none other than Hiroshi Hamasaki, who's known for directing Techno Lies, Vampire Hunter D, and a bunch of other gritty 80s OVAs. I've always liked this guy's style of directing. It's very atmospheric and moody. He often gives scenes a quiet and very tense atmosphere. They often use this effect where they remove the background and add a static filter over it to put emphasis on the character. It's very simple and smart. I remember him using this technique in Techno Lies to great effect. Another thing that's used very well here is the soundtrack. I don't know a lot of the instruments being used here, but every one of them is used to great effect. They especially shine during scenes of shock or action. The one with the throat singing really sticks out in my mind when I'm thinking of the soundtrack. So at face value, this anime might look like a bloody, shocking samurai show, but there's a lot more going on than that. The violence in the show is a tool used to show how horrifying and pointless it all is. Underneath all the blood and guts lies a bunch of severely broken people as they lose themselves to the pursuit of power. We already see the extent of Iwamoto's insanity from the start, but our two main characters progressively lose their humanity throughout the show. When Fujiki and Iriko make their final duel, they have lost everything by trying to become a samurai. Fujiki has lost his family, his dojo, his arm, and eventually Mie as well. His victory over Iriko is a hollow one. Iriko has lost all of those things as well, including his own life. Not only is this anime brutal in terms of violence, but also in terms of themes as well. The path to becoming the strongest samurai is not an easy one, and it requires absolute sacrifice. So Shigurui was shaping up to be one of the best samurai anime ever told. So what happened to it? It got cancelled. Yeah, this is a very strange case. I tried looking into information on why this happened, but I couldn't find anything stating why. If I had to assume, it would probably be based on the violence and sexual content. This isn't where the story ends, however, as it continues in the manga. The anime covered up about 32 of the 84 chapters of the manga. It's honestly a shame because there are so many crazy scenes we didn't get to see adapted. If you were thinking the insanity and bloodshed died down in the rest of the story, you would be very mistaken. If anything, the manga is even more gory and detailed. Some of these scenes are so over the top they feel like something out of Baki the Grappler. One thing I'd like to point out is the artwork looks very different from the animes. The anatomy and the poses of the characters looks fantastic, but there's something about the faces that I just didn't care for. As for the rest of the story, it's good, but it doesn't really feel as strong as the first 32 chapters. The manga continues as it covers Fujiki's backstory and several other Kogan's members, adding more depth to them. There's a match between Fujiki and Iriko which is so intense, where Fujiki ends up losing his arm. This causes Ushimata to go on a horrifying killing spree. The rest of the story takes place between Fujiki and Iriko's rematch. I didn't find the stuff in between as strong or memorable as some of the other plot points. I think there's certain things that also start to wear out their welcome at this point too. I don't mind the story trying to grapple with the harsh and honest nature of the time period, but there are times where it feels like there's too much shock value, especially with the essay stuff. Also, I realize the author uses a lot of fake death scenes, which gradually starts to get kind of annoying. It feels very slow in some parts, but I'd say it's definitely worth finishing if you like the anime. So with that, you have one of the most tragically underrated anime of all time. I finished the manga about a day ago and I haven't stopped thinking about it yet. It's very different and unique from a lot of anime that came out at that time period. The problem is it probably shined too brightly and ended up shooting itself in the foot because of its boundary-pushing nature. This is a raw and artistic anime that demands your attention. I think if you give it a shot, it might stick with you.